We are live now on YouTube. So let's wait for people to join the session. Okay. Okay, so how many people are watching this? So 3 people are watching. That's great. 8 people are watching now. Okay. So 30 people are watching and only 3 likes. Okay, so I'm audible, right? Perfectly there, everyone? So the number of likes is not matching with the number of views. Come on. Okay, so let's just start this session. Okay, so this is not a QS session. We are going for a project. So let's be, without wasting any extra time, let's start this session. But before that, let me just do some initial setup. I have shared this link on YouTube. Let me just check if everything is proper there. Okay. Scroll down. So we got 45 people here. Just wait for 1 minute. We'll start in 1 minute there. So to say, and now we are public. So okay, so we got 46 viewers, and okay, so great. Just hold on. I'm doing some setup here, and here we go. Let me just move this window. Okay. Yes, we are going to build the backend part. So let me just share my screen with you so that you can see what's happening. Okay, and I'm sure there are people who are new to this session. They are coming for the first time. So just to give you the introduction, what exactly we are doing here is we are building a project. So so this is the second session for live coding. In total, we have done with the 4 sessions. The first 2 was the theory part, how exactly we are going to do this. And from last 2 sessions, in fact, the last session and this session, we are going to design a feedback page. So just to show you how my feedback page looks like, so if you go to my website, which is pre-built website, which is already built here, and okay, where is that? Okay, so if I click on feedback, okay, so if you see on feedback, you can see this is what we were building here. Okay, so can we see the last session? Yes, you can. So the video for the last session is uploaded on YouTube. You can watch that video. And Stick says make a video on Spring Batch. Okay, let me just add that in my work list to do task. Okay, so what I will do now is so let's complete the project. Let's go back to my STS. So for software which we are using here is STS, and the framework which we are using here is Spring MVC. Spring MVC here, and here we go. So let me just go back here. Everything seems perfect. We got index page. Okay. So what we were doing in the last session is when I send a request for the feedback page, when I request for feedback page, it should call the feedback.jsp. And I have created a design for feedback JSP. Okay, let me just check if it's there. So let me just, I got a mail here. Just give me a second. Let me just open that feedback.js page. Okay, so if I open this, just hold on. Okay, so I got this page, and one of our members contributed this page, and his name. Okay, so okay, I guess the name is Darshit. Let me just verify that. So this is the page which is given by our one of the contributor. Again, we can do some changes in this. This is the basic design which is submitted by one of the member. Okay, so this feedback page we will ask for the name, we'll ask for the email ID, we'll ask for the website. Darshan. So this is submitted by Darshan. I don't know if he's watching this on live now. Okay. Shubham, if you know Hibernate, you can start with Spring as well. Okay, so you can see we got name, we got email ID, and then we have done some validation as well. So example, if I say Naveen and then email ID as email ID, but you can see it says invalid email address. So we have done some, Darshan has done some validation for this. And we'll say gmail.com, and then, so feedback for what? Feedback for website, feedback for for my training, and feedback for course. If feedback is for the training, for the corporate training, we have to enter a code. We'll say 101, that's my code, and then they have to give a feedback. So you can say any message here. I will type anything which you want, and you can provide the rating as well. So let's say if you say 3-star, there's some problem with the UI. So you can see if I say 3-star or 4-star. Okay, and if I click on submit, okay, and you can see the request goes to add feedback. This is what we want to do, right? So request is going to add feedback. So what I will do now is I will just copy that view here. So I will go to my downloads, and I will say right click, open with. Come on, why is it going so slow? This Sublime here, and let's copy this. Let me just copy all this data, and I will put that in a JSP page. So I want a JSP page here, which is called as feedback.jsp. And you can see in SRC we have main, inside main we have web app, and inside this web app, I'll be creating a feedback page. We already have that page here. And let me just replace this design, which is there inbuilt. Let me just replace all this thing from here. With this thing. Okay. So let's see if it is working or not initially. Okay, let's verify if it is working. Why we got LHTML? That's weird. Okay, so let me just run this code. Right click and run on server. And click on finish. Brijesh, yes, Brajesh, yes. If you have a basic knowledge of Java, you can start with Spring as well. Okay, people who have just joined this session, we are making a live project here. We are building a project using Spring MVC. So if you are new to the session, just click on the like button if you're enjoying this. Okay, so I will say I will request for feedback.jsp. If I click on that, you can see we got a feedback page. So whatever page you have created, you got that page. Okay, so there is some problem with the design, but that's fine. You can imagine this is 1 star, this is 2 star, this is 3 star. So you can see that's it's working anyway. But okay, so but it is working. You can see we have AAA. So if I select this, we got 3 star. Okay, so if I enter my name here, I hope the validation is working here. Yeah, validation is working. Everything is working fine. Okay. So we'll try to write a code for this. So let's go back here, and if you want to write a code, so now we got a UI part. Okay, so we have done with the UI part. Let's go for the controller. So this is the place where you have to actually fetch the values. Now there are multiple ways of fetching the values. You can directly send the values here. Okay, so the way you can send the values is with the help of request dispatcher object. Okay, so now people who already knows you already know servlets, you know how to fetch the values, right? So in servlets, what we do is we use request dispatcher to fetch the values. Or not request dispatcher, we use request.get parameter to fetch the values, right? So we use request.get parameter in servlets. In Spring provides you an extra feature using which you can fetch the values, and that feature is, sure, Arpit, I will also share the design. So I'm also thinking about making a project on GitHub for this, for sharing the codes. Okay, so what I will do now, first of all, it is always a good practice. See, whenever you want to accept the values, see, we have feedback, right? So of course, since we are working with Java, we can create a POJO for this. Now, what is POJO? POJO basically stands for plain old Java object. So whatever data I'm getting here, this data will be stored inside a POJO object. And the way you can do that, you can accept those values is, okay, let's accept that POJO values later. Let's accept the first value. So first I will accept the name. So I will say string name. And the next thing I will accept here is email address. So I will say string email. Thing we have to accept here is the website, or we'll say regarding feedback. We'll say reg, which is regarding, and then we also need a code. We'll say string code, and then we need a feedback message. So I will say string message. This is not a live project on Core Java. This is Spring MVC, which looks like a Core Java concepts anyway. So we are fetching this 4 values, right? Yeah, we are also fetching the rating. So we'll say int rating, because rating will be in the integer format. But then how can you fetch the values from the client page? Is it that easy to fetch the values? Oh, we don't have to fetch the values here. This is feedback, right? This should be add feedback. Oh, I done a mistake here. It is for calling the feedback page, not for adding the feedback. See, for when you send a request for feedback.htm, then we should be calling this page. Okay, this is a JSP page which we are calling, and that is done with the help of this method. Now, when I click on the submit button, it should call add feedback.jsp. Okay, example, if I enter my name, if I enter the email ID, some email ID here, and if I enter for website, no code, and if I enter a feedback, and if I provide a rating, when I click on submit, okay, this is what we want. Okay. So it will send a request to add feedback. We have to send all these values there. Okay. Yeah, we can also use post here, but just for time being, we'll use get. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll create one more method here who will accept the request. I will say public string, and we'll name this method as add feedback. That's the method name I'm using here. Again, you can use any method name, but your method name should make sense, right? In fact, whenever you work with feedback, it is a good practice to create a feedback controller. So instead of okay, let's try to write it here. We'll move that later in a different controller. This is for add feedback. HTML. Not HTML. We are not using HTML there. So we'll say add feedback. So when you send add feedback, this is the values I have to set to add feedback. So add feedback will take all these values, and afterwards it will print a data which is we'll call a page, and we'll call that page as welcome.jsp. Now again, we have not created this page yet. That we will be creating later. But the important thing is a user is adding a feedback by passing all these values, right? So what do you think? The values which is coming in the address bar, do you think these values will be assigned to the variable directly? It doesn't happen that way. We have to use some annotations to make it work. The first annotation, okay, the only annotation we have to use here is request mapping. Request mapping, it is request param. And the request param will be coming with a name. So the data which is coming in this name attribute will be assigned to this variable name. You can see we are getting name here, right? In the address bar, if you see, we are getting a name, the same name value. So this value will be assigned to this name. So to fetch the value, we use request param. Now, if you're coming from servlet background, you know about okay. So when you use request param, what you get is you directly fetch the value. In servlet, we use request, so you don't have to waste your number of lines doing that. Okay, so we can use the same thing everywhere. So just copy this code and let's paste it here. Okay, we'll do for registration as well. And this should be reg. Oh, I don't know, is it coming as a reg? So we got name, we got email, then we got feedback option. Oh, this is not a reg, this is feedback option. What I will do is I will just change the design. I want reg there. So in this index, not index page, in this feedback page, in the design where you have feedback option, we'll change that to reg. Okay, where is that? Okay, so the name is feedback option. I will make it reg. Is it this reg? Let's make both thing as reg. Okay, so we'll be getting reg now, not feedback option. Okay, once we got that, we got reg. Then we need code. Request param will work for both get and post both. Okay. Okay, so we got reg, and then we need a code, and then we need rating. Oh, where's the message? Yeah, message is also there. So you can see we got message. So yeah, everything is coming, and we have to use this thing. We'll say paste. And we'll name this as code. This is code. And this one is message. And this word would be rating. So we'll say copy paste, and this is rating. Okay. And before continuing, I hope you are doing. I hope you are doing this project. So how many of you have done this on your machine after yesterday's session? Okay, I don't know. No, it's answering. Okay, anyway, so yes, we can also use request.get parameter, Vishal. It's just that using request param, since we are using Spring Framework, it gives you that feature. If you are using a request.get parameter, you have to use 8 lines, right? So 1 line for name, 1 line for email, 1 line for registration, 1 line for rating. So you'll be wasting lots of lines. It is better to do it this way. Now, once you got all the values, I want to store these values inside the database. Now, normally whenever you want to store the data into database, we use certain layers, and the layers we'll be using here is a DAO layer. So what I will do here is in this controller, I mean, we got our controller here, right? Let me create a DAO layer here. So I will right-click new. Let me create a package. Or let me just create a class. In that, my class itself will mention the package. I will right click and will say class. Now, what is DAO layer? So DAO layer is basically a layer which deals with a database. Okay, if you don't have STS, download STS. Okay. People who have joined just now, you can click on the like button if you're liking this session. Coming and going, I'm not getting who is coming and who is going there. No. So Ankit, DAO will not create a driver for us. We have to use a driver. The DAO is just an extra class using which you can interact with the database. Because in future, if you want to change something, you just have to change the DAO layer, right? So I will name this as a feedback DAO. I want to keep this in tusk.dao. So all my DAO classes will be inside DAO package. Okay, and in this DAO package, I will create a method called as public, and we'll say void, and we'll say add feedback. Okay, add feedback. This is the method which we'll be using. Now, how do you send? Okay, so first of all, I got this method, and I will be writing all the database code here. But I have a question here. How can I send the values from the controller to the feedback DAO? Okay, so first of all, we have to create object of feedback DAO, right? Because that's how you can call the method. So I will say feedback DAO. We'll name it as fDAO equal to new feedback DAO. Okay, we got the object of feedback DAO here, and okay, and I will simply call fDAO dot add feedback. Okay, I'm just trying to call it. Okay, and in this feedback DAO, just to verify, just to verify if it is getting called, and that's how you should go. You know, you should check with each and every step. So we'll print here in add feedback. Okay, let's restart the server. Let's run this once again. Let's see what happens. Okay, and if I go back and if I refresh this page with the same values, if I click on submit, oh, if I click on submit, oh, we got an error. It says welcome.jsp is not there. That's fine. We have not created welcome.jsp here, but you can see we got the output as in add feedback. So we are getting that. So we can see we have reached till this point. But then if you can observe, we are creating the object here, right? And this is not a good practice. We should not create object by ourselves when we are using Spring Framework, right? So Spring Framework also provides you a feature of dependency injection. So what we can actually do here is, instead of using this concept, we can actually use Spring dependency injection, which is Spring code. How we can use that? Just above your class. Okay. Before doing that, what I will do is, instead of creating this object here, I will just cut that part and I will create object here. It is always a good practice to make your objects as instance objects. So you can see always could be object outside the class. I mean outside the method, inside the class. And you don't even have to use a new keyword, because new keyword is not a good practice to create object. So we'll simply use feedback DAO. And now will it work? The answer is no. This will not work because we have not created the object yet, right? If you have not created the object, let me just show you what problem you get here. If I run this code and if I go back and if I refresh this page and if I click on submit, it will say thank you. But can you see that we got an error? The error is, I don't know if you can see the error. The error is null pointer exception, which means when you don't create the object, it will give you null pointer exception. Okay, so we have to make sure that you create the object, but we will not create the object. What I will do here is I will use @component. Whenever you want an object of a class, just use an annotation called as @component. And just above your object, just use auto wire. And that's it, you're done with this. The moment you say auto wire, you are done. Say control space, auto wired. Okay, any error there? No, that's solved. Okay, so this will automatically create the object. You don't have to use a new keyword. Okay, because new keyword will create the object every time. You don't want that. So you can ask Spring to give you that object. So you can say auto wired, and you just have to use component. So whatever object you want, just write @component on that. And whenever you want object of that, just use auto wire. Anyway, it is not compulsory. You can also use new keyword. Okay, so let me just do this once again now. And if I refresh this page, refreshed, click on submit, and you can see we have not got that null pointer exception, and in the output window we can see we got in add feedback. So of course this is better, right? Instead of getting the object by yourself, you can ask Spring Framework to give you the object. I mean, there are lots of advantages of doing this, okay? There are lots of advantages of using Spring Core. First of all, it by default implements singleton design pattern. Now, people who don't know about singleton design pattern, it's a design pattern where the number of objects will be only one object. So using AutoWire will save your memory. I forgot to start the recording today. Let us start the recording. So let me just repeat what we have done till now, so that if people are watching this later, they will have a recording now. So let me just talk about what we have done till now. We have so I have just created this feedback page, feedback.jsp, and the design is submitted by one of our member, or one of the contributor in the group. And this is the page which they have created, and the page looks something like this. Not this page. So page looks something like this, where you have a feedback form where you can enter all these details. When you click on the submit button, it will call add feedback. So I have created this page, and I have written all this code in feedback.js page. Now, how do we call a feedback.js page? In the index controller, whenever you request for feedback.htm, you will get feedback.jsp. And this is the awesome thing, you know. As a normal user, you will see feedback.htm at the end, but actually what is going on in the backend is .jsp. Okay, this is what we have done, and then we have also added one more thing, which is add feedback here. So you can see we have added add feedback here, the method. This is the method which will actually take the request. If you click on submit by entering the feedback, this is the place. This is the place where you will where it will accept all the values. So you can accept that with the help of request param. Okay, so using request param, you will get name, you will get email. So request param is used to fetch the data from the client machine, and then we are adding that in a database. So we can do that with the help of DAO layer. So all your database code can be written in this class. Okay, now I got some questions here. Every request creates a new object, or okay, so it will be one object will be used by all the threads. It will create. Yeah, so it will be available in the application layer. So it will be available for everything. I mean, we are planning to use Hibernate, but then let's see how it goes. Nothing confirmed about Hibernate yet. So, but let's see. We'll start with JDBC, and then if you think, you know, that's the advantage of using DAO layers. In future, even if you want to implement Hibernate, you don't have to change lots of code. You just have to change your DAO layers. Okay. Okay, now this is the point. So we got a point from Vishal. What if you get multiple requests? Because every request will have a different data, right? And in total, if you have only one object, then how can we use multiple different data? The object of FDAO is only one, but then the values for every object or feedback object, I mean, the values are different, right? So this value will be stored anywhere. So. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's write database code. So we'll be writing a database code inside feedback.DAO.java. So this is your feedback DAO here, which is this one. So feedback DAO in a DAO package. Okay, so what I will do now is, let me just say, try to not. Okay, so how do you send all these values? How do you send all these values inside feedback DAO? So there's one way you can pass all the values like this. You can say comma name, comma email, comma. You can pass all the variables, or the best way would be to create an object. I mean, first of all, to create a class, classes as entity classes. So we'll get a class here, and the class name will say feedback. Oh, I have forgot to change the package. So I want this in a package name, which is package com.telusko.tusk.entity. You have to make sure that you put all your classes in entity package. Okay, so let's move that here. Okay, so what I will do here is I will create, so in this feedback, I want those variables. I will say private. Basically, we want to make a bin. So this is private string name. We'll say private string email. We'll say private string regarding. Is it regarding? And private string. I'm thinking from next time I will already make some codes, and we'll see the codes in the live session, because it is taking lots of time to type everything in the live session. So next time we'll implement that. And for this we need getter setters. We'll so right click, source, getters and setters. Select all. Okay, so we got getter setters, and I also need a constructor here in case if I want to pass all the values in a constructor. So I will right click and we'll say source, a constructor. Okay, source constructor with all these fields. Click on OK, and you got the constructor as well. Okay, so we got a constructor here. So we got getter setters, we got a constructor. Now what next? So we'll go back here, and okay, now, so we got the feedback class. I want to create object of feedback class here. Again, we can use, okay, so we can create object of feedback. So we'll say feedback. We'll say feedback. But we just have one issue here. Again, we should be using, okay, we have to import the package first. So say control space, we got feedback. Okay, so we should be using @component. So if I say @component, there is one issue. For different people, we need different feedback object, right? But then how can I use it here? Okay, so what I will do is I will change the scope of this. Okay, how do you change the scope of a component? Okay, so we have to use a scope, and we'll mention the scope as prototype. Now, the advantage of using prototype is it will create a different object for different requests. One object for feedback, right? So every person will have a different feedback. So I'll just make a prototype, and here also we'll be using @override. Simple, everyone. Okay. Okay, so now what we'll do here is, let's create an object of feedback, and I will say, oh, we got an object, right? And I want to assign this values. So I will say feedback. Oh, I should be using constructor here, right? Because, okay, let's not do AutoWire here. We'll create the object by ourselves because I want to achieve. Okay, let's not use that feedback there. So we'll create a new object because I want to pass all this object. I want to pass all these values by myself. So I will say name, comma, email, comma, registration, comma, and then we require code and rating. So we'll say code and rating. We got the feedback object here, right? And that feedback object will send in add feedback. So whatever data I'm getting from the user will send that here. And the same feedback we have to accept in this. So I will say feedback FB, but that's not Facebook, but that's feedback. We'll control space. Okay, now just to verify if I'm getting the proper feedback, instead of, with this in feedback, I will also print FB. But then this will print the hash code, right? I don't want hash code. I want to print the data. So what I will also do is I will implement the toString method so that I will get the data, not the hash code. So right click here and we'll say toString source toString, and we'll select all the values. Click on OK. So we got a toString method now, and everything should work now. I'm printing that object here. Let's restart the server. By the time you can share this video with your friends on Facebook, if you think it is helpful for them as well. Okay, so let me just enter values here. I will say Naveen, and I will use email ID as whatever it is available here. And then this is for the online course, no code available. Let me just also mention the code. I will say 104, and then let's type the message. We'll click on this and click on submit. Okay, so again, you will not get the page there, but you can see in the feedback, I'm getting all these details, right? This is what we wanted. So we got all this data in the feedback down. Now this is the time to save this data in the database. Again, we can use Hibernate here, but Timely will not use Hibernate. Oh, we got one more suggestion. Instead of using all this thing, we can also use, let me just comment this part, we can also use model attribute. That's what you're saying, right? So we'll use public string add feedback. So there's one more way which is there in Spring MVC, which is called as model attribute. Okay, model attribute, then we have to use feedback. Does it work here? Do you think it will work directly? Let's try. I guess model attribute works with Spring Form. Or let's try. Let's say enter, and you got an error. Oh, for this we have to provide a default constructor. So we also need a default constructor here. Let's say feedback and use. Let's use a default constructor. Come on, server restart. Is it happening there automatically? Yes, server started. And yeah, it does work. It does work. So we can also use model attribute. So the advantage of using model attribute is you don't have to write all this data. You can write it in one line. So you can simply use model attribute. Whatever data it is coming from the request, feedback directly. It is that awesome. Okay. Now we can also mention the name here so that we can use it later as well. So we can mention feedback so that we can use it later in the model scope, in the session scope. Okay. Let's try if it is working. Let's say enter, and it does work. Okay, perfect. So we got a feedback, and now it's time to store this in a database. And to store this in a database, what I will do is I will use a database code. But then, okay, so what I want now, I want you people to complete this code and send me the code using using JDBC. I mean, complete this code and save the data into database. That will be your assignment. Okay, and that is very easy, right? You can watch my video on YouTube how to save that in a database. What I want to do now is the code is very simple, right? You can write a Java database code here, and you can store that data in database. Okay, but now, so Saga says we can avoid the parameters constructor. Yes, we can avoid the parameters constructor. Okay, so you got my thing, right? So by tomorrow, I want you to submit this code. So download STS, make this project, do all the configuration, and complete JDBC and submit it by tomorrow. You can use Git repository to share it. Okay. Now, why I'm not completing the code? Because I want to do some important thing, which is more important than completing JDBC code. The important thing is, what if you complete this module? Because once the module is complete, which will be done by tomorrow, of course, where do we deploy this? I mean, even if we are completing all this thing, where to deploy this? So as we have planned that we'll be deploying this on Google App Engine, but then we have not seen how to install Google App. I mean, how to work with Google App Engine, right? Okay. So we got a question from Anuj. Why we are not using Spring Boot is because and we are facing some issues with Spring Boot on Google App Engine. But once we figured out how to rectify that, we'll use Spring Boot as well. We can also use that. Okay, so what I will do is let's talk about how to deploy this application on Google App Engine. So we know how to complete this code, and now you also know how to do this, right, everyone? Just say yes if you agree with me. Completing this code is now very easy. You can just simply use JDBC code and it will be done, right? Okay. Okay, so now let's see how to create a Google App Engine account. So we'll create a Google App Engine account with my email ID, which we are using for this the email ID which we are using, which is the Telusko Live project. So I will open my Chrome here. Okay, so I will open my Chrome, and in this Chrome I will say, let me use Firefox because I already have so many accounts on Chrome. I will go to Google website, which is Google App Engine. So just go to Google and search for Google App Engine if you want to use Google App here. And okay, so just go to Google App Engine. So we got a question from Shiv: how Spring Boot differs from Spring MVC? Making Spring Boot project is actually very easy. You don't have to do lots of configuration. And let me repeat: if you are joining this session now, if you have just joined this session, do click on the like button, everyone, so that I will know that you're enjoying this session. Okay, so okay, so I already have my account here. I will just change it to Telusko Live project. So whenever you want to go to, okay, if you want to create a Google App Engine account, just go to Google, search for Google App Engine on browser, and it will take you to the Google Cloud platform. Okay, and it will ask you for the login. Whatever Gmail account you have, you can do that. Whichever Gmail account you have. Okay, so I'm using Telusko Live project as my Gmail account here. Now, once you log in, you can create a project here. You can click on the Start Language, and you can click on Java. it will give you a Java project. But then I want to link my Eclipse with this Google App Engine, right? Now, how do we do that? So the way you can do that is, first of all, we have to, okay, now Google App Engine is free for 12 months. You can see Google App Engine is free for 12 months, and by default, it will give you $300 of credit. So if you're using any of this service, which is a paid service, you can use it for $300. Okay, now, since it is free, I will click on the sign up for free trial. Okay, and it will ask you some basic questions. Let's ignore that. And depending upon which country you live in, so you can select whatever country you live in. I'm in India now, so I will select India. And then I will say I don't want any special offers, and I'm accepting all the terms and conditions, even if I don't agree with that. And this is awesome. There's no auto charge after free trial ends. Even if you are providing your credit card details, they will not charge you, even if you're crossing the limits. So I click on agree and continue. Okay, so it will ask you for some details. It will ask you for the account type. You have to mention individual or business. And then you have to mention the project name. You have to mention the address, the city, the postal code, because they might come to your home to give you a gift, right? And okay, so now they will ask you for the credit card details. You have to enter your credit card details here. Okay, and you can ask for anyone for the credit card details. And once it is done, you can click on the start my free trial. Okay, now once you do that, Google App Engine will give you the platform. But then once you got the platform, once you got the account, how do you link your Eclipse with this? Because that is important, right? How can you be linked with our STS with the Google App Engine? So for that, you have to go to help, and you have to go to Eclipse Marketplace, where you have to mention, okay, in the Eclipse Marketplace, you have to search for Google App Engine. Like some time to search. Okay, so you can see we got Google App Engine. You have to install this plugin. So you have to install this particular plugin. So if I click on install button, it will take some time for the installation. Okay, and you don't have a choice. You have to accept the terms and conditions. Click on finish. It is downloading. You can imagine how slow my internet is. So let me just make it run in background so that we can continue with the thing. Oh, what is that? Oh, we have to restart our STS. Let's click on yes. We don't have a choice. We have to restart the STS. Okay, so when you restart, you can see we have an option here of creating a project. But then you cannot, even if you create a project, you have to make sure that you also deploy this on the server, right? So this is the option you're using which you can deploy. So even before creating a project and deploying it on the server, what you have to do is you have to click on Manage Google Accounts. And you can see I already have an account here. So you can, if it is not there, you have to add an account. You have to click on Add Account. You have to provide your username details here. I will not do that. Okay, so I already have an account. I will use that particular account here. I will use Telusko Training as the account. So you can see I already have an account. Okay, once you have an account, you have to create a project. You have to say a Maven-based Google App Engine product, a project. And okay, it says Google SDK is required but cannot be found. That means you have to also install Google Cloud SDK. Now, how to do that? And that we'll see. If I will make a video on this, how to install Google Cloud SDK. Maybe today or tomorrow. I will upload this video, and you can watch this video, and you will know how to install Google Cloud. In fact, I already have Google Cloud in this machine. Okay, I guess I have not done with the setup here. Okay, I already have a Google SDK installed. Let me just check. Okay, it is here. Okay, we do have Google SDK. Oh, but I have configured for the desktop one. It is working. So Google SDK is accepted. So I will make a video on how to install how to install Google Cloud SDK. You have to make sure that you do have Google Cloud SDK in your machine. I will ask you for the group ID. I will say Comrade Telusko. And the artifact ID is Tusk1. Now it will create a new project, okay? And you have to make sure that you copy all the configuration from your old project to this project. What we need here, nothing. We just need a package. Okay, let's select this one, Google App Engine API, and click on Next, and finish. It will give you a basic project which you have to replace. Big Boss, I guess I have asked you for your name in the last live session, and you have not given your name. You have two different names here, so we can see Big Boss, but that how would I know your Facebook name? Okay, and you have to convert this project into Spring MVC now. Now, how we can do that? We can add the Spring configuration. We can add Spring dependencies here, and you know how to do that, right? So we have done in this first session. You have to convert this project, and if you make any changes in this, you just have to click on this link, and say deploy. The moment you say deploy, the project will be deployed on the Google App Engine. Now, project has some errors, that's why it is not able to deploy it. But then after solving this, you can do that. So now we have seen how to create a Google App Engine project. And then we have also seen the problem here is it is not able to connect to the Tomcat. Okay, error gone or not? Or Tomcat is not started yet. There are some errors. Okay, it was because of Tomcat, but now I have linked a Tomcat here. It's not yet linked. Let's see the properties once again. The Tomcat is linked. Okay, now you can see the errors are gone. Now what you have to do is you have to copy all this thing from Tusk, and you have to paste that in Tusk1. And that's how you can configure this project with the project which we have done till now. And once you do this, just have to click on this and say deploy to App Engine, and this will be deployed. So you have to deploy. Okay, this is the earlier project. We'll go for a new project. Okay, first of all, you have to get a project there, right? And then you can do it. Again, how to do that? Once we complete the project, so tomorrow we'll copy all this thing in this task one. We'll make these changes and we'll deploy this on the app Google App Engine, and you'll be having the first project deployed. So that's it. We have done with the session 4, where we have still not completed the code. You have to complete this feedback page by tomorrow. It is taking more time than I have assumed. It is taking 1 hour session, not getting enough. I guess we have to go for 2 or 3 hour session from tomorrow. I don't know how many of you watch it if you go for 2 or 3 hour sessions. So you have to make sure that you send a JDBC code by tomorrow. Yes, I will share the design on the Facebook group. So do share this video with your friends, guys. Let them know about the live project. Do share this on Facebook and use a hashtag called as #Telusko. And if you want to be a part of this group, just share the message on Facebook using a tag #Telusko. And if you do that, we'll add you in the group. If you feel that your request is pending, you can do this. So if your request is still pending, just share the message on Facebook. Share this video on Facebook and type some message and use a hashtag called as #Telusko so that we can verify it. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have liked this video, do click on the like button. And thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow at 5 p.m. IST.